to understand was that so I went off looking for this 1 and 0. So I studied Reiki, I studied, you name it, I tried it, body talk, all these different systems that were sort of seeming to go with a kinesiology, like a 1 and a 0. And nothing really stuck for me until I was in Barcelona. I was working for a player at Barcelona by that time. And I heard about Cam Ewan, Dr. He's a chiropractor, but I don't like to call him Dr. Cam Ewan. I don't know, just chiropractors. I just think Cam Ewan. He was a rocket scientist, engineer, grandmaster Kung Fu, worked on the Kung Fu series that we both know from the 70s. And then he developed this system on 1s and 0s of instant resolution. And I looked at his stuff and went, he's saying he can resolve things on the spot. I never really believe anyone until I've tried it. So I had extreme back pain that I've been suffering from for years, to the point where I had to put one hand on my leg to lift the toilet seat. And it was agony in the morning, and it wasn't resolving. And also my calves would tear if I tried to run. So he was doing a clinic, an online clinic, where I pay $40, $47, and I tell him in a box what's going on, and then he resolves it. And I was like, this is, this good money. Like, nothing's going to happen, but it's worth it for $7. And so that was the couple of days before. And then the night I went to sleep, because it was in LA, or I went to sleep, and in the morning I woke up and it was gone. My back pain was gone. And I went, what? I was just blown away by it. And I went and checked his thing, the audio, and it said, Rob, you're weak to your bed, you're weak to this, you're weak to different things. Like, when you run, it triggers weakness from spiritual experiences of being chased and shot with sharp objects, something like that, like a karma. And I listened to it and I heard this 1 and 0, like, you're weak to this, you're not strong to it. If you're weak to something, it's going to show up as physical problems in your body, because of the flow of energy has become weakened. And then you get the stagnation, block, congestion, inflammation, infection, infestation, right? The disease pathway. So I listened to that and I couldn't get my back pain back. Like, it was gone. And I was like, I was really one of those other moments where I went, oh my God, this is it. So I went hardcore, 3 years, all day, all night studying. I mean, when I say all night, it was because I was just going through it in my head constantly. So I downloaded, bought everything he had, and then I deconstructed it, which is what I like to do, to find out what he's doing. And then I immediately did it myself. And so, 1s and 0s. Can I give you an example of how that would show up in your life? So I do retainers for high net worth individual clients. And so they pay me quite a bit for every month. And what I do, and I've done it this morning, is I check through their organs 1 day a week, or I do something else. And so what I can do is, let's say I go through lungs, heart, kidneys, spleen, pancreas, gallbladder, stomach, liver, and I just go through them, and I can feel. And everyone has this ability. It's a felt sense. It's not anything that's special about me. It's a human trait, and I'm going to reiterate that throughout this podcast, that everyone has these skill sets themselves if they choose to. I'm not anyone's guru. Everyone should do the work themselves to free themselves from, their conditioning, or be able to at least, everyone should be at least able to go onto their computer and clear their cache, close web browsers, empty the emails, right? And it's the same for humans. We have this innate ability to be able to go into us and check our operating system and see, how are my organs? So you go through them and you can feel when one drops. I teach this. I taught this to thousands of students, the strong or weak. And you can go through the organs. And when you find one weak, you switch it back on and things disappear. The problems, things disappear. So one of the stories in the book many years ago was I had a client who came to me. He was paid for by a footballer to come on a session, which is always a bit of a red flag, Lee. If someone pays
Mm.
for someone else,
Yeah.
I don't know if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like they don't
Yeah.
really
Exactly.
want to
Yeah.
be there. Yeah. And he
Yeah.
came on, and he I didn't know him, but he came on and he had his clothes on. He goes, "So should I take my clothes off and put some sports clothes on?" And I said, "Why?" And he goes, "Well, you're going to do some exercises for my back." I go, "No, no, no, I'm going to talk to you." And it turns out he's a massive atheist, doesn't believe anything. And he went, "What?" And I was like, he doesn't suffer fools lightly, this guy. And I spent an hour going through saying, when does it hurt? He goes, "I can't bend over." I said, "Okay, bending over is weak. It triggers the experiences of not standing up, which is the opposite of bending over, not standing up for yourself with your father, blah, blah, strengthen, because that was weakening." So I switch it back on. I go, "How is it now?" And it was a horrible session, one of my worst ever. And I was sweating.
Mm.
Um, I felt, um, I felt like I was failing. At that time, I don't get that anymore. This is You get better at what you do, right? And
Mm.
so his back had 19 years severe back pain. Operations. He was on heavy duty painkillers. He couldn't play golf or anything. Could hardly walk. Couldn't really drive. And he was an important person in this big corporation that. So I never heard. I didn't hear from him again. And then 2 weeks later, I saw the footballer. I spoke to him, and he said, "How'd it go with so and so?" And I said, "Oh, it was terrible." And he goes, "That's weird because I just saw him playing golf." And I was like, "What?" And then 3 or 4 months later, I got a message, and it said, "I need to speak to you. Um, I don't know what you've done, and it's really thrown me." So I got on a call, and he called me spooky bastard. So he calls me spooky bastard. He goes, "Rob, when I woke up the next day, the pain was gone." And I couldn't believe it. So I went and mowed the lawn, which is a trigger for him. And it didn't come back. So he
Mm.
got in the car, drove to the Isle of Man to try it, because that would be agony for him. It didn't hurt, and it was gone. And it threw his life, the paradigm of how he was living. It just threw it completely,
Mm.
because I'd been able to resolve at distance through Skype at the time his back pain
Mm.
without touching him, and he didn't believe it,
Mm.
which is really key. He did not want to
Mm.
believe it. Yeah, there was no placebo.